he accidentally exposed the pump and dump crypto scams that he promoted.
I'm holding my Luna, my XCAD.
Series of transactions from KSI's wallet were starting on March 27th when he sent that tweet. KSI started selling XCAD, which is kind of the definition of a pump and dump.
When Coffeezilla investigated KSI in 2024, basically the entire internet got stuck arguing about one thing. Did KSI intentionally pump and dump crypto? But looking back, I don't even think that was Coffeezilla's most important point. His real warning was about KSI himself. This is somebody with an enormous audience who can move attention, money, and public opinion just by saying something online. And when people question how he uses that influence, his response has like a habit of becoming, they're attacking me, they're clout chasing, they're just haters. And 2 years later, after Lunchly, thick of it, and eventually leaving
He exposed the pump and dump crypto scams that he promoted. They've been hidden for 2 years, but only came out when KSI logged back into his old Twitter account, saying, "Does this still work?" Now, if you didn't know, this is KSI's crypto account where he used to talk about crypto coins he liked, but he messed up because one investigator has been waiting for him to return to the scene of the crime. And that person is not me. It's Zach XBT, a crypto investigator on Twitter.
The investigation starts with XCAD. KSI had publicly talked like somebody who was going to hold the coin long term. His post made it sound like he believed in the project and he wasn't going to plan to sell anytime soon, except public wallet data apparently told a very different story. According to Coffeezilla's investigation, on the same day KSI posted positively about XCAD, his wallet began selling it. And we're not talking about $20, I mean, we're talking about $850,000 USD worth of XCAD was being sold over the following days. Now, this doesn't automatically prove KSI was running some calculated scam. Wallet activity can show what happened. It can't magically read somebody's mind and prove why they did it. But from the perspective of somebody following KSI, they see one of the biggest creators on earth publicly sounding confident about a coin while his wallet is moving in the opposite direction, and that's obviously going to raise questions, and for me, it just personally looks like a textbook pump and dump.
Now, many people, including myself, hadn't seen anything from KSI to this point that seemed shady. But Zach had been waiting for this moment. He goes on, "Remember when KSI posted this? All of a sudden, my XCAD bag is looking juicy again. Hodl gang then proceeded to dump $850,000 worth of XCAD over the following days from his wallet address."
And KSI didn't deny selling it. His explanation was basically that he was moving money between different investments, trying to make more money elsewhere and then hopefully buy back into XCAD. He also shared an account showing that he still held some XCAD afterward. So his position wasn't I secretly dumped everything and ran. It was more I was making stupid trades and losing money. And that's an important distinction, I guess, because Coffeezilla never proved some secret mastermind plan where KSI knew exactly what the market would do. But it's still a problem. The problem is that XCAD wasn't the only example investigators found. Another post showed KSI publicly saying he was bullish on 2 projects, and then within hours, the source says hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of one of these tokens was sold. And once you have the same weird pattern more than once, the coincidence becomes much harder to ignore.
Zach also shared a picture as proof. Series of transactions from KSI's wallet were starting on March 27th when he sent that tweet. KSI started selling XCAD. The same day he tweeted he was part of the HODL gang, slang for someone who wouldn't sell this crypto coin, right? In fact, that wasn't the only time KSI has mentioned this holding stance publicly.
I'm holding my bags. I'm holding my Luna, my XCAD.
Videos like this are why people genuinely thought KSI was just buying and holding, but he wasn't.
And this is where the investigation becomes way more interesting than just KSI crypto bad, because Coffeezilla basically admits that proving malicious intent from KSI is difficult. Maybe KSI really was just terrible at trading. Maybe he genuinely thought people shouldn't treat his tweets like financial advice, but Coffeezilla then shows him something that matters regardless of intent. The trading volume. I mean, every time KSI posted about XCAD, the graph showed huge spikes in activity, millions of dollars suddenly moving into the market, and that's the part people completely missed. I mean, KSI doesn't have to explicitly tell someone to buy a certain coin. I mean, he's KSI, but millions of people watch what he does, so whatever he tweets, it's still promo, and it'll still spark a trust in the people, as people will see KSI saying, "Oh yeah, I bought this coin," they'll eventually just hop on the train, and then he could just sell when the value's high. Coffeezilla's warning was basically your influence creates consequences whether you intended those consequences or not, and if you're that powerful, I didn't mean it is not a valid enough excuse.
Another message which changed everything from Zach. He said, I have one more KSI example with a different coin. Turns out on March 20th, 2021, KSI tweeted this. 2 NFT coins I'm very bullish on, Super and Earn. Any other NFTs I should look at? Now, normally when you're bullish on a coin, you buy that coin. But that's not what KSI did. See, right after he tweeted that, 6 hours later, he sold $174,000 worth of Earn token. And then 4 hours later, sells another $174,000. Now, if that isn't a textbook pump and dump, I don't know what is. And I said as much. I said, I'm just trying to understand why you traded the opposite way that you were saying on Twitter. And KSI replied this, because I thought I was getting trolled. Honestly, every time I tweeted something, the opposite would happen on the market. So I decided to tweet the opposite of what I was actually doing and still took an L. He thought the market was against him, so he publicly said one thing while privately, secretly doing the opposite, which is kind of the definition of a pump and dump when you promote that to a big audience.
And this is where Coffeezilla's warning almost proves itself in real time. Instead of the discussion staying focused on how much responsibility do I have over what my audience does, KSI starts focusing on Coffeezilla. Why has he made 3 videos about me? Why is he coming specifically for me? Why would I even need to scam anyone when I already have money? And sure, being rich gives KSI less obvious motivation to run some tiny crypto pump and dump, but it doesn't actually answer the evidence Coffeezilla was showing him. Being wealthy isn't proof you handled your influence responsibly, and turning the investigator into the problem is exactly the behavior Coffeezilla was criticizing.
Well, honestly, it's kind of mad how Coffeezilla has made not 1, not 2, but 3 videos on me. And I haven't even responded yet. Turned down millions and millions and millions of deals. Like tens of millions of me to do, I don't know, some gambling stuff. So why would I go on crypto and pump and dump for what?
Then a few months later, KSI launches Lunchly with Logan Paul and Mr. Beast.
Lunchly, you get double the amount of liquid.
Prime has no sugar added, more electrolytes, and more B vitamins.
Crunch Bar. Feastables Crunch.
Yeah!
Our pizza uses real cheese. Theirs, as it says on their box, is mozzarella pasteurized prepared cheese product. They can't even call it real cheese.
And immediately the same pattern starts again. DanTDM questioned the 3 huge creators packaging their brands into a lunch product aimed heavily at younger audiences. And instead of KSI accepting the criticism, he digs up through Dan's old sponsorship and basically argues he promoted snacks before too. And this is bullshit, as DanTDM, it was a one-off sponsorship and he never claimed it was nutritional. Meanwhile, KSI has always been talking about it with the 3 biggest creators, or well, 3 big creators, and basically has attached himself into that brand. And not only that, it makes it appeasable to kids, saying it is more healthier, which is completely 2 different ways of advertising a product. One is promoting it as a treat, a snack for kids, and one is promoting it as something you should put in your diet daily for kids.
Sponsored, then promoted, and made a whole video on Munch Pack, a monthly sub box full of food and candy to his Minecraft audience full of kids. His fans imploded.
And to go more about the nutritional value, a famous doctor on YouTube, Dr. Mike, looked at the numbers and his conclusion was mixed. Lunchly did have less sugar than the compared Lunchables. It also had more potassium because of Prime, so there were measurable differences, but that doesn't suddenly make it some perfect, healthy children's meal either. Dr. Mike describes the whole meal as still heavily processed and questioning whether the calorie and sodium balance actually made sense as a complete lunch for a kid. That's the actual discussion KSI should have wanted.
What I was able to conclude is that Lunchly has less sugar and therefore less calories than Lunchables in comparable kits. That's probably due to the drink component of the kit, as Capri Sun uses sugar and Prime is artificially sweetened. Lunchly has significantly more potassium than Lunchables because of the Prime drink, which I guess is good, but not something I'd regularly use in deciding if a food is an ideal lunch for a kid. But the entirety of the kit is still considered an ultra-processed meal.
And somehow a children's lunch controversy leads directly into thick of it, because barely after the lunch leak backlash, KSI releases a new song and it is absolute dog shit, and the entire internet collectively decides it's going to bully for him for it. The music video gets hammered with dislikes, the top comment becomes more popular than the video itself, every streamer is reacting to it, the song becomes a massive meme. And look, I actually understand why that would annoy him. Imagine spending months making something for millions of people to instantly treat it like a joke. But then KSI gets asked about the criticism, and once again, instead of just accepting that people don't like something, he starts questioning whether they even qualify to criticize it.
If the whole thing was different, it would be better, right? Fantastic. This was literally my top comment. If anything, it's actually the most liked comment on the fucking music video. It's got more likes than my actual music video. A comment! 202,000 likes on this comment. Why aren't you liking the video?
And then we get to why this Coffeezilla clip suddenly feels relevant again. I mean, KSI leaves the Sidemen after 13 years. His original explanation focuses heavily on burnout, his relationship, family, and wanting more control over his life. I mean, fair enough, nobody should be forced to make Sidemen videos forever, but then the weeks afterward became less about slowing down and more about how big KSI could become by himself. Comparisons to being the breakout star of a group, talking about personally outviewing the other members, talking about needing to compete with Mr. Beast and Speed. And some of the other Sidemen were surprised by how the departure itself was announced. So once again, you have this huge decision affecting millions of fans and 6 people he spent more than a decade working with, and the argument afterwards becomes centered around KSI's own scale, influence, and ambition, which brings you straight back to Coffeezilla. And that's why I think people misunderstood the Coffeezilla investigation. The interesting question was never just, did KSI deliberately scam people? Even Coffeezilla couldn't definitively prove what was inside KSI's head. The bigger question was, what happens when somebody has this much influence but struggles to accept what comes with it? Crypto goes wrong, the investigation is cloud chasing, even though you did the same type of pattern 3 times. The lunch leak gets criticized, people hate us, the song gets mocked, the critics don't understand music, and the Sidemen situation gets messy. Now we're talking about views and becoming bigger than anyone else. Maybe that's just what happens when you've been one of the biggest people on the internet since you were a teenager, or maybe Coffeezilla spotted the problem years before everyone else did. KSI doesn't lack influence, he might have too much of it. The question is whether he's ever learned how much responsibility actually comes with it. Now let me know what you think, and subscribe for your boy. Alright, love you all. Mwah.